Hello and welcome to The Boy and the Bear. We've got something a little bit different for you this week. We're going to pick out a couple of questions and points we've had over on our TikTok channel and discuss these in a little bit more detail. The reaction to some of the videos we've posted is pretty much the reason we started this podcast in the first place. It's quite simply to have fans from all clubs, and it is all clubs, discuss their feelings on the game without all the nonsense that comes with it.
There was plenty of nonsense as well, though.
There was indeed, yeah. Seeing you boys trying to filter through it. So what we've done is we've each picked out a couple of our favourite comments or things we want to talk about a little bit more in depth, and we are going to run through them on this podcast. So
what's our TikTok handle, Steve?
Our TikTok handle, Paddy Boy, usually comes to Scott on this one, but our TikTok handle, Paddy Boy, is at BoyBearPod for anybody who would like to follow us, leave us a little comment. Or abuse us, yeah. Either of them. To be fair, you can do multiple in one. You can follow us, abuse us, and leave comments. Paddy Boy, I'm going to come to you first, mate. The comments you wanted to pick up on, please.
Yeah, cool. So, it was nice to go semi-viral. One of my favourite.
It was mostly you, to be honest. What you mean, Scott? We're just having a cigar, and most of them, to be honest.
James Simpson. Thanks for getting in touch, James. Commented to say the biggest problem with Scottish football is the Old Firm. So we can discuss that as well. I support St Johnstone. Unlucky, James. More than 70% of Perth support an Old Firm team. I think that's a big problem, and no other cities are the same. So I wanted to hear what you guys thought about that, because I thought that was a really interesting point.
Well, I actually, Paddy Boy, I seen that you put this in it, and I actually came up with a little bit of a proposition, a little bit of a solution that I think might help. So, in my opinion, as a neutral, the reason that people from their own cities don't support the local team is, and I'm going to take a lot of abuse for this, but what's the point? What's the point? I mean, how many trebles have Celtic won in the last 10 years? 6?
You sound like Barry Ferguson.
And there's just no, I mean, St Johnstone, I know I appreciate I've won a couple of cups, but they're in the minority. I mean, there's a lot of teams that don't win trophies for 10, 15, 20-year spells. Always feel like Rangers and Celtic, normally, I know Celtic have won them mostly, but normally win the trophies. I think there should be a trophy where the top two in the Scottish Premier League don't qualify for it the next again season. And we revamp that as some sort of League Cup. And that effectively means that a team outside of that, Celtic, Rangers, normally will be guaranteed to win a trophy. Fans can get excited from a quarter-final onwards, knowing they've got a good chance of actually getting their hands on some silverware. And we take a
Rangers
European...
enter it as well, then?
If they finish third, yeah. Listen, it's... And what we should do is we should take the Conference League place that we get, and that should go to that cup winner. And you get some fan engagement. You make it so it's sponsored by a streaming platform or the SFA. I mean, the SFA are never going to do this, but the SFA gets some sort of streaming platform involved, and effectively all the games are free to stream for members of those clubs. And tickets are like a $5.
It's outside the box. I don't know how it'd work within the current fixture congestion, but I like the thinking. It's got sort of like the...
Well, there's no fixture. The only people complain about fixture congestion are Celtic and Rangers. They're not in it. So why do they care?
Don't mind it. It's more the fixture gaps where you have international breaks and then the cup windows. I like it in practice. If you did away with the League Cup group stages, something you could do that. But I suppose would managers then be prioritising not getting relegated over this cup? You know, there's all the things that come with it.
Like you could use like the League Cup phase as a starting point rather than, you know, that might be the way to introduce people over a summer window when there is no football, and that's a way to get people into Scottish football. It's probably the ideal time. You know, you can have friendlies against Rangers and Celtic. The teams in the league are at a competitive stage. Rangers and Celtic are trying to get up to a competitive stage for competing in the qualifications. So it might work out as a nice starting point for a friendly, if you like. And it gives the teams, like you said, a chance to actually compete for something at a Conference League level, or, you know, or maybe want to look outside the box even further. Maybe include some other teams from like the Welsh League or the Irish leagues, you know, and trying to kind of like almost like a Celtic kind of cup or something. I don't know.
I'd love
it's
that.
Just
I'd
everybody
love-
apart from the English, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they've got their own problems. I mean, like they don't need us. They make that very clear that they don't value.
A lot of people and a lot of sources though have suggested the doing away with the English League Cup and the Scottish League Cup as they are and making a British
Really
Cup,
like
which I
that.
think would be. I think that would be such a great idea.
Yeah, I
Good for
agree.
attendances, it'd be something a bit fresh.
Just something. It's not even so much to guarantee a team a trophy. It's more just that's what you're a fan for. You're a fan because you want to feel involved in something. You feel that there's going to be an end result. Like if you just know you're going to finish third every single season or fourth every single season, and in the season you don't, it feels like a catastrophe. It's like, well, what's the point? Like, I mean, Aberdeen obviously had that for years, very well documented, and yeah, what is the point if you're not going to win a trophy at the end of it?
Hibs v Watford on a Wednesday night.
But you'd love it. You'd love it.
Yeah, I'd watch it 100%. What did you think of James's comment that the biggest problem with Scottish football is the Old Firm?
Well, no. So let's strip that back a little bit more. I think the biggest problem with Scottish football is that the broadcasters only care about the Old Firm. So I don't think it's so much the fans, etc. But broadcasters then dictate the proportion of where fans end up because that's what's on TV, that's what's gigged up, that's what's served up to you when you sit down on a Saturday, Sunday afternoon to watch the football. So I actually think the way the broadcast deals are actually the problem with Scottish football, and St Johnstone and other teams suffer from that.
Yeah, I would agree. I agree with you. I think it goes back to that problem we've had before, where we've all discussed that we all agree that playing each other 4 times in a league fixture is way too much. It dilutes the product.
Absolutely.
Like this time, like this is the 4th time we played in the league, and it's just a boring. How boring was that game of the weekend? I mean, and as a marquee game of the Scottish Football League, it's like everyone tunes in for it. It's boring.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing to play for in that one. I mean, okay, there's bragging rights between each set of fans, but in terms of an actual football game, there's nothing. So you could caveat that with the other issue of the split. We've discussed that before. The split is also an issue, and I think this adds to the frustration from other fans.
The whole thing with the split is so that teams have got another chance to play Celtic and Rangers for commercial reasons, and that's it. It's such an outdated model. Like the biggest football teams in the world, yes, attendances are important, but they're not the be all and end all of how clubs commercially make money, and we need to move past that model. And I'd also just like to finish off by saying that yes, I get where he's coming from with the Old Firm of the problem, but can I just say St Johnstone, I believe, are one of the clubs that give Rangers and Celtic 3 stands at their stadium. Stop that, because you're just encouraging them to be Celtic and Rangers fans.
My point when I came back to James on it was like, surely there's more that these clubs can do to promote like their own club and think of inventive ways of getting more people in the stadium. And James, to his credit, did then go and say, we have done deals, we have reduced ticket prices, and I'm like, that's great, but what about making the match day experience as good as you possibly can? A lot of grounds in Scotland feel tired, but there's a lot of grounds that have seen an increase in support because they've brought fans on board to discuss things and really sort of made them the centre. Like in the Championship, you look at teams like Falkirk and Dunfermline selling. I know they're slightly bigger clubs than some of the smaller clubs in the current top flight, but they're still. There feels like there's real buy-in there and there's real engagement. And last summer I went out with my friend who lives in Dublin to go and see an Irish League game, and he said that since the pandemic, they've made a real thing of the Friday night football in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
They've really they've made the match days really attractive. The atmosphere was brilliant. There was a lot of people there, and it's on the up, because it's a product that people are passionate about. And if they can do it, then Scotland absolutely can.
What I would say is there's definitely things that can be done to change. The main problem probably is just trying to get a consensus of a direction to move forward with, and actually getting enough people in the room who want to think outside the box. And it's partly what this podcast is about. So yeah, thanks very much, James. And Paddy Boy, I know you have a couple more you want to move on to, so I will let you do that while Scott's just gone on a little wander.
Thought I'd shamelessly pick out a couple of people that were buying into what we were doing, which was great. We had Damien saying, I love it when common sense fans get together and talk actual sense. Our league needs to expand 100%, which was really nice. And Gordon Bullock said, 2 football fans discussing football without all the hatred, and a nice clap emoji. So comments like that is why we do this in the first place. And we were saying it was really good to see that the one video which had us agreeing on points is the one that's clearly engaged with got the most traction and engaged most people, which was great. And such a massive consensus as well in a 16-team league. It's clearly what people want, and it's just so depressing to see that it's not even on the table anymore.
But I think it's ignorance from the board point of view of Scottish football. The football needs to improve. There's a lot of areas where Scottish football can improve its actual product, but there's a real sense and a real urgency and a real feeling that could happen, you know. And I think
you know, Scotty, just
capitalise on that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
just a wee fun fact for you. Do you know that you need to take the teams from 3rd to 7th, combine all their attendances together to actually get to the number of Celtic's average attendance on a weekly basis? So there's part of the thing as well. I know we had a user, Annan, apologies if I pronounced it wrong, asked which 16 clubs would you want in the league? So easier way to maybe ask
Annan
that.
means anonymous, as in that didn't.
that's brilliant, mate. That's fantastic.
Big Annan Athletic.
Oh, good grief!
That's an absolute.
That's got to be on the Boy and the Bear highlight reel, you know, at the end of season awards or something, you know.
Sorry, mate, what's your name? It's Annan, mate. Nice to meet you.
There goes all the respect I had on this podcast. Which, if it was there, mate, I would have read it. Which 16 clubs would you like to see in the league? And probably the easiest way to ask this question would be, which teams that are currently in the top league would you want to maybe not see in the top league, and which clubs from the lower leagues would you like to see in it? And let's start with the former. Paddy Boy, let's start with you, mate.
I think I'd keep the current top flight and add in Falkirk, who have come up anyway. Partick Thistle. This is where it gets quite tricky.
Dunfermline?
In terms of fan base, you'd have to argue it. I mean, and then Lenny would come back up. Yes, yeah. So I'll say the Fires.
Just representation for an area as well.
Last one, that's in the Championship.
Could be League One, mate. Some big teams in League One these days.
Oh,
I see Scotty with a pen.
It's got the pen out.
And Steam.
Scott, you jump in and see if you can help me out.
There's only one to add on to what Paddy was saying. Clyde. Got to bring Clyde back.
Actually, I'll say Martin.
Clyde.
I'd say Greenock Martin. Good to get Martin back up as well.
I'm saying Clyde because my father-in-law is a Clyde supporter, so I obviously want to be invited for Christmas dinner this year. So,
see, on the point you said before, though, Pat, about the Friday night games, the final day of the Championship was on a Friday this year. That's what I thought was quite a nice touch.
Yeah, I think the Scottish Championship should be just always played on a Friday night.
Yeah, and maybe there's too many teams. Maybe, and that's another conversation. I mean, I'd love to see what East Kilbride do in the next couple of years. I think there's a huge opportunity for them to turn into a decent standard of a team.
The problem is, though, like going back to what James was saying, you know, in a town like East Kilbride, which is a relatively new town, a lot of those people are going to be Celtic Rangers fans.
Yeah.
So, especially when you consider the proximity to Glasgow as well. So, but yeah, this isn't a unique problem to Scotland. You know, like in Germany, you've got Bayern, and loads of people from other cities in Germany support Bayern Munich. Spain, you've got Real Madrid and Barcelona. You see Real and Barca tops all over Spain. France, you've got PSG, who are just the giants. You know, this isn't a uniquely Scottish problem, but in those countries, what happens is the teams that are below the top teams in the country clearly do more to attract their fans, and the quality on the pitch is better as people go. Like Kilmarnock were nearly selling out Rugby Park when Steve Clark was there, or at least getting like double digits.
They were selling out. They were selling out.
So maybe if fans weren't just so fair weather and they only went when they were winning, they would potentially have more revenue for clubs.
Yeah, Scotty Boy. Some of the points you wanted to bring up, mate.
There's Gilbertron 3000, which I thought was an interesting name. It said, expand the league, allow for only 3 foreign talents, but Old Firm won't vote for this, so we'll just continue to have the worst league, or one of the worst leagues in the world. So I thought it was an interesting point about the kind of restructuring to try and promote more Scottish youth. Obviously, we've mentioned this, myself and Pat, and I've talked about the lack of Scottish talent coming through at both of our teams. And I think that's a real major issue. And I think that's one of the reasons why Rangers are having such an issue right now, There is a lack of, like Pat mentioned it there, or in the last episode, sorry, about the mentality of like James Forrest and Callum McGregor coming through as young homegrown lads that understand the league, the demand of the club, the expectations of the fans. Like I would like to see it.
Those are 1 in 100 though. We can't.
No, I know, but surely it would be better to
I'll
bring
have this
more.
argument to why would it be better? Why would it be better for the standard league? We're not good enough. We don't produce enough players.
But why? Like, okay, to take your point, we
Our
don't have.
okay, it's not just down to Rangers and Celtic. Our mentality as a nation for producing footballers is shocking. Like,
Well, look at what Lennon Miller went through, right? A young, promising player just saying that he wants to be the best player in the team. I don't see the problem with that, but he got shot down. And I agree with you. There's an issue about curbing the enthusiasm of a promising young talent way too early, and saying, "Oh, you'll never get there." And that is a Scottish problem, right? We've all had that at some point in our lives where we've been told, "Oh, you're dreaming, get your head out the clouds," kind of thing. And it's like, no, live in the clouds. That's the best part. That's the best time.
We have produced a lot of good players, so like maybe not enough, but we've still like you look at some of the players I've produced recently, like Robertson, Lewis Ferguson, Tierney, McGregor, Gilmore. Like there's
how good are they? I don't mean this. I'm not trying to be flippant. Genuinely, how good? Like they're not. Name one world class player in that.
Gilmore's
not
world class. Doesn't
Andy
even
Robertson.
get a game.
Andy Robertson was world class left back.
I'll give you Andy Robertson, right? I'll give you Andy Robertson.
Scott McTominay is world class.
Scott McTominay isn't world class, mate.
Mate, you're wearing an Napoli top.
Scott McTominay is not a world. Scott McTominay is a very good footballer. He's not a world class footballer. Let's be real. Honestly, boys, let's be real.
No, okay. Like, I'm gonna. No, I want to discuss this with you because I feel like you sit there and say, "Well, we're not producing young, like any world class talents." How do we know that we're not going to have unearth the next gem if we don't actually give them an opportunity to perform?
No, you've got to change the whole infrastructure first. And what you can't do is you can't say to clubs like Motherwell's and all that, "Oh, by the way, you're only allowed 3 foreign players," because you're completely stripping them of their only ability to make money. Aberdeen's business model is buying Miovski for X and selling him for Y.
No,
if you don't do that, you're just allowing Celtic and Rangers to progress even further. Celtic and Rangers snaffle up all the best youth anyway, so like. Yeah,
but I guess
that's not true. Like Aberdeen produced, who's Lewis Ferguson was playing for? Was it
Hamilton?
Hamilton before he went to Aberdeen. He didn't touch Celtic or Rangers, so it's not always true. Andy Robertson came through at Celtic, then went to Dundee United. Sometimes the inverse is
well,
true.
Actually, no, he didn't go to Dundee United. He went to end up at Queen's Park because they released him because they snaffle up the youth and they destroy a lot of them. So
yeah, but then he went to United.
It was a very rare case.
It wasn't that Celtic snaffled him up. So. And McTominay wasn't. He didn't play in Scotland, but I do think he's world class. Definitely a world class footballer, top of Serie A. But
he wouldn't get a game for any of the top.
Because they've not used him in the right way, mate. They've not used. Look at the way Conte is using him. A world class manager's using him in the right way, and he's getting the best.
At the end of the day, if Scott McTominay didn't get a game for Man United because Bruno Fernandes is a better footballer,
mate, but. We're going back to the comment about the league itself. I do believe that we do hinder a lot of our young talent, especially we don't give them enough pathway. We don't create a clear enough pathway. And I get your point about the fact that they've got to be good enough. And that's true. They do have to be good enough. But how do we know they're good enough if we don't give them a sustained enough opportunity? We give them 1 or 2 games and they have a good game. They burst into the scene. They're brilliant. Everyone's like, "Oh, fantastic!" Then they get their first start. And like all youth players, they have a wee dip. We belittle them so much when they're down in that, right? So we don't actually bring them back up. We don't support them. And then what happens is they've got this talent, and then it's like, "Nah, you're terrible."
Right? Okay. So
and I think we need to be better as a nation.
Yeah, we need to be better. I think we all agree we need to be better as a nation to producing players. They're just for me, it's an unrealistic expectation to turn around the club and say, "Well, by the way, you're allowed a maximum of 3 foreigners." I think what we need to do is we need to say to ourselves, right, what do youth players need? They probably need a tier structure of leagues that allows them to make that step up naturally. So, I mean, we've all been to Championship games and League One and League Two games and Premier League games. There needs to be more synergy between those leagues in terms of playing style or the ability for younger players to step up and play for Celtic and Rangers if they've been on loan at Championship clubs because the style of football allows them to do so. That's not the case just now. Playing surfaces up and down the country need to be more consistent across the board to allow players to actually develop their game. we need to incentivise players, young Scottish players, not to take paychecks from English clubs early doors in their careers, because yes, there is always the odd case of a Billy Gilmore working out, etc. But there's thousands that don't. I mean, look at the boy from Aberdeen, Calvin Ramsey. Calvin Ramsey, he was unbelievable at Aberdeen. You heard from him since? No. So, yeah, there has to be a better overall system in place. You can't just put it on clubs and say, yo, you need a maximum of 3 foreigners.
I'd say that's the same in every country, though. Like, every country is going to produce thousands of footballers, and it is always just a few that are going to make it to the top. I think, it's somewhere in the middle is the truth. I think we are producing good players, but I do also agree with Scott that they're not being, given the correct opportunity by managers and fans. I think fans are too quick to jump on players' backs. So the truth lies somewhere in the middle. But I do definitely think that we are producing the players. It's just a shame they're not playing in our league.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe coming on to another comment that was left that I wanted to pick up on, and it's similar lines, maybe in terms of how we can actually improve the game as a whole. And it was from Brother Rolling. We need a summer league with attract more supporters, a better TV revenue, as it's not competing against the big leagues. Now, something that's obviously tried in mostly Scandinavian countries or countries slightly further north. Ireland as well. Where would you boys stand on that? Do you think it would do us the world of good? And we also got to think about European football in this as well.
Exactly. I think it's a non-starter, to be honest. I can see where they're coming from with the suggestion. Would you change it every time there was a major tournament? And we do actually, we've got quite a lot of international players in our league. For all we talk it down, there's a lot of players at a lot of different clubs that play international football.
Mm-hmm.
What happens then? Do players just have to deal? Do teams just have to deal with these competitions being on? I'm not so sure.
You've also got like the Club World Cup that's kicking in and everything as well now, and
I just think fixture congestion means it's a non-starter. As much as I'd like to see it.
Can I just jump in there? I think with the summer, I think like maybe what we discussed previously about like a summer cup, like changing that and having that as the early competition, that might be the buy-in to get a lot more engagement. Oh, you're bored of the summer, right? Okay, well here's a deal for a streaming package. Watch the summer cup competition, whatever it's called, whatever it will be. Right, there you go. You've got your buy-in there, and then that you can caveat that with, interested? Why don't you watch the rest of the season? Here's a discounted price or something on the next streaming service block or whatever it is, and then that way you've just created this channel that you can funnel people from one product to another seamlessly.
My concern is what is also the appetite. I mean, fans also need a break as well. It's like I quite enjoy there's no football in the summer sometimes because it lets you switch off and then switch back on for the new season starting. But I suppose my problem is for as much as I want Scottish football to do well and love it and stuff, it's not Scottish football I overly get excited for starting again, and that's probably part of the problem. I totally appreciate. I probably as a Scottish fan, am quite a major part of the problem. So we need to do something. It's better than doing nothing. Drinking at football games. Do you think
we need to bring that
definitely
back.
Bring it back. It's time to bring it back. Yeah,
keep it away from Old Firm games for a trial period.
Even then, I know guys that were getting on it at 9 a.m. and earlier because
as we know from the weekend, it's not as if Balls of Bucky aren't making it their way into the stadium anyway, Scotty.
Oh, exactly. So like, it's probably better for people to be able to have a couple of years at the stadium than it is to get other people
revenue for the clubs as well. Revenue for the clubs as well.
It feels like a really dated. It was probably the right thing to do at the time. I think we're desperate for a review now. But we're a country that hates letting people have fun.
But I also think we've just created this unfortunate classism in football. Oh, you can afford a hospitality ticket, you can have a pint or as many pints as you want.
I agree on that, Sky.
You're a working class guy or woman, whatever you identify in this day and age. You decide that you want to go and support your team on a Friday. You can't have a pint after work because something happened in the 70s. I mean, it's a joke. Mm-hmm. We just continue to shoot ourselves in the foot at every step of the way in this league.
I totally agree with you on that one, Scotty. But what I would say is it's been absolutely amazing to have these comments on social media. So please keep them coming in. And we do read through all of them. We do take our turns to read through all of them.
We never stop.
And yeah, we never stop. And yeah, that's we'll certainly be clipping up some of this and putting it on socials as well. And Skybar, where can you find us on socials?
At Boy Bear Pod on TikTok, and same as Instagram as well. And then you can email us at theboyandthebear@gmail.com.
And this is something we could clip up because we are recording this in the same place, which means I can do this.
Oh, wait for this though. Here's the retaliation. Are you ready? It's been a pleasure. Follow.
Cheers, boys. Catch you next time.
Catch you later.